Let's now turn our attention to this area right here. We've got this hand grip, this area right here, and on the interior of the gun right in here. Now, I don't really know what is going on here, and we don't really have enough reference images to know exactly what these parts are and do. But we can go ahead and place shapes in here to kind of fill the space and get a sense or hint at what's going on. So let's work on that. But actually, before we do, I noticed that for this piece here, I hadn't yet applied the Boolean modifier, and I'd like to clean up my layers down here, get everything on the first layer, and I see that I still have these cutters. The problem is if I take these and delete them, I will lose the Booleans that I have here, the holes that I've created. So what I need to do is go ahead and apply this Boolean modifier. So I'll just hit apply. And now I should be able to take these and delete them. And the holes remain where they are. So that's good. I'll go ahead and grab this piece and move it to layer 1 as well. And now let's go ahead and go to the side view again, and let's go to a new layer and take a look at these pieces here. So the first thing I'll do is move the cursor here and create a new cylinder. And we don't need 32 sides, so I'll just take it down to 12. And instead of scaling in the 3D view, I can also click and drag here in the radius field. And I can click and drag in the depth field as well, right here. And I'll go to wireframe, and I'll rotate this 90 degrees. And then here's where I'll scale it down and try and get this in place right here. Now, while I'm here, I'll go ahead and duplicate this piece and move it, and we'll use that for this piece as well. And then I think I'll go ahead and duplicate this and use this for that centerpiece there as well. I'll hit S, Shift Y to scale in the Z and the X. And also, I don't need the faces on the inside there, so I'll just hit the division key on the numpad to isolate this. And then I'll delete faces on these sides as well. Alright, so now we can go back here, hit that division key, and back to our side view. Now back into wireframe, let's select this piece, and I think what I'll do is just grab this face here. It's a single face currently because I forgot to change the cap fill to triangle fan, but we can still work with this. I'll go ahead and extrude it out in the Y and scale it down a bit, and then move it forward once again like this. And I think I'll just scale this out just a bit like this, and also move this forward just a bit like this. Alright, so we have that piece there. Now let's come back here and do the same thing here. I'll just grab this one face here, and I just want to extrude it back and scale it down like that. Now it looks to me like I should probably go ahead and change this from a single face to a triangle fan, and the way to do that would be just to delete that one face, go to edge mode and select that edge, and then I can hit extrude and then the enter key. And now I can press Alt M and merge all of these points at the center. And there we have effectively our triangle fan cap. Alright, so back to our side view. And now let's work on this piece here, this extension here that goes up to the handle or the hand grip here. So to do that, I think I'll move the cursor here one more time and press Shift A and create a curve and a path. And we can't see it now because we're looking at it from one end, but if we hit RZ90, we can spin it around and scale it down quite a bit. And then back in the side view, let's kind of put it in place here. I'll put it right about here. And now if we tab into edit mode, we can select one point and begin extruding this up and around this curve to kind of create the curve of that piece, like so. And I'm just hitting E and moving the mouse, and now we can get this curve here as well, like so. Now tab back into object mode and go over to the paths panel here. Let's go ahead and change from half to full. I'll come down here and increase the resolution just a bit, and then let's click and drag in the depth field and expand that up like this. So I'm going to hold the shift key and drag so it moves a little bit slower. It looks like I could move this down just a bit, maybe like that. Let's go ahead and tumble around and see how it looks. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now, one thing we're going to need to do is move these pieces over to the side a bit. Let's go back to layer 1, and I need to move this out from the center of the piece here. It kind of hovers over this piece right here. So let's bring that out kind of like this, right about there. So it's just barely outside that top cover. Now let's work on this cylinder right here and connecting this piece up. So to do that, I'll go back to our side view, and in here I'll go back to layer 2. Let's go ahead and place the cursor, say, right about here. And let's create a new cylinder. And let's go ahead and give it a triangle fan. And 12 sides should be fine. I'll go ahead and drag in the depth field and rotate it 90 degrees. And let's see if we can place this in here. Now, to connect these two pieces up, here and here, I'll select them both and then press Ctrl J to make them all one object. Now if I tab into object mode and go to face mode, what I can do is maybe select this face and connect it up with this here. However, the problem is if I were to select these two here, it would connect it right through this object with the holes. So what I'm going to need to do is insert an edge loop. So I'll press Ctrl R and maybe insert an edge loop right about here. And I'll do the same thing on this piece as well. It looks like it comes out of this piece about halfway in. So I'll add an edge loop here as well, right there. So now let's go ahead and go to face mode and select this piece and that face and this and this. And now let's bridge these together by pressing Ctrl E to bring up the edges menu and choosing bridge edge loops. And there we go. So now we have those two connected. Now this piece here looks like it's a cylinder, but it's kind of flared out. So let's go ahead and work on that. I'll go back to the side view and click in here to move the cursor, and let's create another cylinder. Once again, 12 sides and a triangle fan looks pretty good. I'll rotate this around the X 90 degrees. What we can do is go ahead and grab this edge right here, and we could scale that down to get that flared look to it like that. I should come back and work on this handle now up here. We've got this piece here and the handle to do, so let's work on the handle right now. I'll go back to my side view and back to wireframe. I'll go just to layer 2 so we can see what we're doing. And once again, I'll create a cylinder. Now I'll rotate this one and scale it down. And let's move this up here into place here. Now it's easier often to model along the global axes here with the X and the Y and the Z. Notice here we're using the global transformation orientation. However, this is angled, and we could go ahead and create it angled like this. There wouldn't be any harm in that. I'll go ahead and move this back to this part of the piece right back here. Maybe scale it so it fits a little better. And then what we could do is change our transform orientation from global to local. Now we can also press Alt space bar and bring up the orientation menu, and I'll change that to local, and you can see how the manipulators change to be aligned with the object now. So I'll go ahead and tab into edit mode. Let's go ahead and go to face mode, and what I'll do is I will control click and drag and lasso these faces here. Now I can begin extruding up this piece. So I'll hit E and drag, maybe scale in just a hair, and E and drag, scale in just a hair. So I'll just move and scale as I extrude up this piece to match the reference image. There we go. Now I didn't have my original piece aligned perfectly, so as I extruded it got a little off. Therefore what happened, I think, is that whereas this piece I think gets bigger as it moves back toward the end of the handle, I didn't do that. I didn't make mine increase in size as it went to this end. So we're going to need to work on that. I'll move this over a bit like this and maybe kind of fit it onto here a little better. And then what I can do is use the proportional editing tool to try and expand this end up a little bit more than this end. So what let's do is tab into edit mode, and with this selection of faces here still selected, what I'll do is I'll come down here and turn on the proportional editing tool. I'll click enable, and now if I hit S, you can see that I have this influence of my scale. If I begin dragging, you can see that it's only influencing what's in the circle here, and I can expand that circle with the middle mouse button. So it expands on down the piece. So what I'll do is maybe expand it like this and kind of try and make this a little bit bigger there. See how that worked. Yeah, so now we've got a piece that's a little bit bigger on one end than it is on the other. And that's just using the proportional editing tool. So I'll go ahead and turn that tool off. And now let's go work on this piece here. We've got this one right here, and it's very difficult for me to actually see what's going on here, but I think we can do something that kind of hints at it, that at least fills the space. So let's bring back our other part of the gun here, and what I'll do is I'll select this piece right here, and I'll move the cursor to it, and then I'll create a cube here, and I'll go ahead and click and drag in the radius and bring that down quite a bit. I'll hit the shift key while I'm dragging to make it a little bit slower, and I'll bring it down about like this perhaps. I think first of all what I'll do is scale it in the Y, and then I'll go ahead and add an edge loop right here because it looks like there's a piece kind of sticking out here. So then I'll grab these two faces and maybe pull them up above this piece right here. And once that's done, I'll grab this piece and extrude it up just a hair like this. Now I'll come over here and grab this piece, and it looks like I should be able to extrude it this way. So I'll hit E and extrude out this way. And then it looks like there's a piece kind of angling down here. So I'm not exactly sure how this should work, but it looks like it angles forward toward this flared piece. So what I'll do is go ahead and insert an edge loop here, and then select this face here. I'll extrude this straight down and then move it forward just a bit like this. Now I feel like it needs to come in just a bit. So I will press Control plus to expand that selection, and I'll also select these faces here and just move that in just a little bit so it kind of sits right inside the edge of that. There we go. So now we have those pieces basically blocked in. what I should do now is go ahead and add a subdivision surface modifier to each of these and add some edge loops that will help smooth out and tighten the edges. So I'll do that before the next video, where we will go ahead and begin working on the shoulder piece for the gun right back here. So that's coming up next.